Yes, you did. Did you get the donut?
My Bible has no names on it.
Okay.
She tried it.
You didn't?
All right, let's open in prayer, and hopefully Shannon and Beth will make their way in.
They found a place to
And if they had
All
chocolate.
Father, we just thank you so much for this morning. We thank you for your word. We thank you that we have the freedom to open it up anytime we want to and access it in so many different venues. Father, I pray that we would never neglect the study of your word and time alone with you, because that just gives us the tools to fight the enemy. Father, I pray that we would be like Caleb and follow you with our whole heart, and that would be able to be written about us. Father, I pray that we would learn from one another, and thank you so much for these students that are here that are so faithful to do their homework and to study your word and glean such truth from your word as they grow. In your precious name we pray.
Thank you.
So, how was study? How was study this week? What did you do?
It was a little frustrating.
Was it a little frustrating?
Yes.
And how come? Good morning, Beth.
Well, I wanted to find all the cities.
Well, yeah, we always all want to find all the cities, but
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
why do you think we can't find all the cities? I mean,
there.
Marianne had a great
Yes.
possibility,
Yeah.
which I like that possibility a lot.
I didn't
Would
hear
you
what
say
you
that
said.
again, yeah?
I said that we couldn't find them because those were the cities that the Israelites did what they were supposed to, and they completely wiped them out.
Exactly.
Right. I like that idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
There's a donut.
And maybe that's why they don't exist anymore.
I wonder how many of them they've uncovered in their archaeology.
Right?
Yeah.
And that happens daily
But there's
in
no
Israel.
matter.
Yep.
I was kind of fascinated by the fact that I think it was, I can't even remember which one it was. It was the first one we read. The detail when he was describing the boundaries, because then I looked at the map and I was like, here, and he named like 15 cities in between.
Right,
Isn't that crazy?
Like, holy cow, there was no doubt about where that boundary line was.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you think they needed that?
Yeah, really.
Why do you think they needed such specific
I
boundary
guess so there'd be
lines?
no dispute between the tribes over who owned what.
Totally agree with that. They are brothers.
Yeah.
And that's great.
And then they get the equal, you know, how to pick the tribe is.
Exactly.
And what their assignment is, because
That's huge right there.
If you're a weaver, you don't need all this land that the sheep need to go on.
Right.
So,
And it was interesting that somebody got the city, but somebody got all the land of the city.
Right.
Like,
they have different assignments.
luckily I circled those things in my Bible, so I can't.
Well, and again, when you're in a city, somebody's going to have to maintain the city.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Because as more people come in, you know, you can talk about the lovely things about the road and stuff like that, but you're going to have sewage you're going to have to take care of.
Yep.
And just maintaining.
Garbage pickup.
And again, right? It's like there's a hole in the road. Who's supposed to fix that?
I love
Water.
Thursdays, they come and pick up my garbage. Love those boys.
Right? Thank you.
Love those boys.
It's a lot of stuff to maintain, okay? So we don't think about that. God didn't include that in the word. Thank you. We don't need all that.
When Weldon was up in Upper Alaska, when he went hunting up there one time, the paddy, they didn't call it a paddy wagon, I forget it, but it went along down the wood streets.
Yes.
To pick up the.
Yeah, because somebody needs to pick it up.
Yeah, I don't know what they did with it then. He never did tell me if he knew. So. They
And
probably
it's-
took it outside the city.
Right.
Just not far.
Right.
It's just like the body of Christ.
We all have our job.
We all have a part. Sometimes we get promoted.
Right.
Sometimes we think we get demoted.
Mhm.
Sometimes in this season in our life, we can't do that activity anymore.
Right.
Because someone else younger is coming in to do that.
Right.
And so it's the body working together for the purpose of drawing attention
Good.
to the Creator.
And remember, when we studied the 6 tribes, all 12 tribes, they each had a different skill, you know, and that's going to be needed in warfare.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's very important that we know who's where and where they're going back to, or things like that. Okay, when you got out your at a glance chart, so I hope you're keeping up with that, because to go back and fill that in,
No.
probably not going to happen.
No.
So,
It's,
if you want to take it out
157.
now, hopefully you're transferring it with your observation worksheets as we get added to. Okay? Now, right, I'm going to give you a second to find it. I usually keep it in back of my observation worksheets, so I always know where it is and I keep adding to it.
I don't know if Jenny knows we've done it before.
What?
I have my cheat sheet of last
Yes.
time I studied.
Did I teach it before? I don't think so. I think Valerie did.
I think it's Valerie.
I think it was Valerie.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember I told you last week, I'm really not sure what to do with. So feel free. I mean, you want to put a little checkerboard in there and go this versus this, you go for it. I don't really know what to do with them, so I just leave them blank. But when they put a definite mark here on the one, there's must be some sort of a division that I should be recognizing. So I kind of go back to it. But we know that chapters 1 through 5, I'm going to put the review up there. They're preparing to take the land. Because remember chapter 1, be strong and courageous, Moses my servant is dead. Then automatically chapter 2, what do we do? What are we doing in chapter 2? Rahab. Okay, the spies go in, they're preparing to take the land. We got Rahab. Chapter 3, what have we got?
Trying to catch.
Crossing the Jordan on dry ground, and we got 12 stones in the middle, we got 12 stones on the bank. Okay, then you go to chapter 4.
Memorial.
The memorial.
So the ark parts, if that goes
Sorry, the
into
memorial's
description-
chapter 4. Chapter 3 was not that.
Yeah,
That
the
was
description of the ark and how it parted the waters
Thank
for them
you.
to cross.
Right. Then you're on chapter 5.
Circumcision.
We got to put that in there.
God just prepared them to.
And they set them apart. These are the
Yeah.
God. Now we've come across. Now you're in the promised land. Let's fully follow the Lord in everything He said to do. So they did in the midst of their enemies.
Amen.
Okay, chapter 6 opens differently.
Taking the city by sevens.
There. Oh, that's good.
'Cause
Taking the
there's
cities
seven
by
in there.
sevens. That's good. So if you have chapters 1 through 5, Joshua and Israel prepared to take the land. Prepare, right?
Yes.
6 through 12. Now what have we got? Occupy the land. Battle. Conquest, right? Okay? So you could put conquering the land, taking the land, taking their possessions, whatever you want to do. Those 6 through 12 are huge. Okay? Then you turn it over. Okay? Again, like I tell you, keep up. Either put it on the top, keep up, whatever, and hopefully you transfer it to your Bible. Okay? Sometimes during the break. Sometimes you get a break and you're like, I'm usually getting up and I'm doing my study. I don't have that. Let me start putting it in my Bible. Think that's a good thing to do. Chapters 13 to 17, Joshua apportioned the land as an inheritance of the tribes. Isn't that what we just studied this whole week?
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's doing this, right? You get this land, you get this land, you get this land. Have we studied all the way through 24 yet? No. So here's your little spoiler alert,
Heads up.
right? 18 to 21 is possessing their possessions. And again, they have it like, 13 through 21 on the observation worksheet, at a glance. They just group them all together.
Yeah.
But why not? He's apportioning it, right? And then they're possessing it. They have to know what to possess in order to go in and take it. 22 to 24 is serving the Lord in the land. That's a great ending. This is what you were made to do 40 years ago. Now you get to come in and you actually get to do it. Should I leave it up there anymore?
Needs of end. Thank you.
Done? Okay, chapter 13. If you had to do a theme, what would you say this was? This is very specific, which gave you instructions to write on the left-hand margin.
I did Reuben, Gad, half Manasseh, and inherit present-day Jordan.
Present, yes, that is correct. Yeah, because again, they're on the what side? East. Yeah, they're on the east. We already know that, so why do you think we have to say that again?
They have
Because our brain's needing.
Yeah.
That's why I need to say it again. Yeah, because, remember, you have to keep remembering these people are not home. They're on the wrong side. As far as they're concerned, their family, their kids, their livestock, home is across the river, which is not going to part for them when they go back home. They're going to either cross it, I don't know what time. Maybe it'll be way really low. Maybe it's going to be at flood stage. I don't know. They don't know. They don't know when they're done. But they can't go home until they're done. So what's going on over there? Don't know. But that could be a huge distraction, huge deterrent. There's a reason there's a river in between them. It's not a little stream.
Yeah.
Okay? So however you want to,
Isn't that
Do
just like
it.
God? Here's the boundary line.
yeah. Let me put a protection in here
Yeah.
for you because I know what you're going to want to do.
Yeah. Things are planned and in order for your benefit.
Right, right.
And not that the Lord didn't know what was going on. They chose that. They asked for it.
They did.
It wasn't that he said, okay, you're going to have this, we're going to
Mhm.
fight first, but
Right.
they asked for it because it looked good and
Right.
all this
And it was perfect for him.
livestock.
And it was still part of promised land. So he's like, yeah, you can have it. Absolutely. But
Right.
covenant too, we will, and they did. Okay, I love that. Now Joshua was old and advanced in years when the Lord said to him, you are old and advanced in years. Well, gee, thanks, I know that.
Come on.
You're getting up there.
85 or so.
Very much of the land remains
See, the Lord likes
to be
laugh.
possessed, right? It's like, yeah, I know I'm old and advanced in years, but I still have stuff to do.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
That had to be a concern for him.
Yeah.
So God has an answer for that,
Well, isn't that a concern for all of us as we get older?
right?
What am I doing now
Right,
to benefit the kingdom?
right. And if I were to die tomorrow, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Is everything, will they go, well, I wonder what she, it's a great question.
When
Who
you
would have
still
thought you'd
have-
find it in the Old Testament?
When you still have ones unsaved in your family or
Ah.
not serving the Lord, then you got.
Prayer is never, ever, ever done, is it?
That's right.
Verses 1 to 6. Again, we're just going verse to verse. It's just the land is described. That's all it is. If you want to, put a little bracket in there, the land is described quite extensively. My question, I don't have the answer to this. Does anybody have the answer to this? Are Joshua and Caleb the same age?
Same age.
No,
Josh was
said
10
they're
years old.
not.
Joshua's 10 years older.
Josh was 95, Caleb's 85 at this time.
Okay.
I knew
So I
he was
found when I was
85.
studying- Yeah, when I was studying the Caleb thing, I was reading something and actually it was a commentary that was talking about how Josh was 95.
Joshua is
So
95.
he's 10 years older. And
That's
Joshua died in
interesting.
110, I think it said.
That I
Yeah,
did
that's what I
know.
found.
So this is about 15 years before his death.
Joshua 95 and then Caleb is
85.
That's
So he's
how
10
it's
years
said.
older. That, and I wonder how.
I didn't chase around where that came from. That's what the commentary said.
Shannon? I want a verse.
It's Halloween week. I barely got this homework done. I was up late last night.
like the rest of us. This
Okay,
was
so
a
he's 10
speaking.
years. How come God doesn't say that to Caleb?
You already
10
know
years.
this.
No,
How come he doesn't tell Caleb you're old and advanced in years?
he didn't need to know that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's God's
Because
plan
it's
to
Joshua
say
who
this.
is the boss. He needs
He's
to.
the boss, but does Joshua describe himself as just as strong as he was when he was?
Oh, no.
He doesn't describe himself
I'm
like that,
losing
but
it.
Caleb does.
Right. I'm still.
That's what Caleb said, and it had to be true.
God talks to Caleb directly. I don't remember God ever actually talking directly to Caleb.
No, but he described him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought that
God
was
thought great
great.
of Caleb, but I don't think he ever directly
I
talked. He
was
might have
saying
said
that.
you're old if he talked to him.
That's a good point.
Yeah, he just
You never
needed
know.
to.
No, I'm 85 and I'm as strong as I was when I was 45.
Jenny, Caleb is the leader of
The warriors.
Judah. Therefore, he says, I am still strong. I am a man of war.
Which he is, yeah.
And
But
I
Joshua
will-
was too.
And I will
Yeah,
go in
that's
and
true.
I will go in and dispossess those people, because
Man,
In
because
my
his heart
thinking-
fully followed God.
Yeah, in my thinking, they have knocked out, as we read.
A lot.
They have knocked out the major obstacles. Now you still have remnants
Right?
left.
That are still there,
They're still there, so it's up to the tribe
right?
to go in and take the.
But skipping ahead, we know they didn't.
Right.
And we know Joshua is head of all of them.
Yep.
And he's a man of war.
Yes.
Because he is captain of the army of Israel, but he's 10 years older.
That's why God told him, you are old and not Caleb.
Also-
He was the man.
He was the man.
Yeah,
Yes.
he didn't talk to everybody.
Stress ages you, and Joshua's had a lot more stress than Caleb. I mean, Caleb's the leader of Judah, but Joshua's been over Israel.
All of them. All the tribes. Yeah, and Caleb's only going to be with
Depends
Judah.
on how
Also-
you
Good
handle
point.
stress, whether
Well,
it ages you or not.
Yes.
Also,
I handled it well.
contrary to
With pills.
Because
see
I am
movies
30,
like
no,
Braveheart,
29.
your
And I'm
overall
39.
leader does not go and
He's
jump
old
in right
enough
into
to be
this.
Right, he's not the one doing hand-to-hand combat all the
He's the
time.
one that's back directing.
That is true. That's a good point, too. Joshua is told to apportion the land in verse 7. Verses 8 to 14, this is why we label the chapter, the land on the east of the, because this is what this is about. So we don't want to get confused of, wait, he's apportioning the land, like, oh, no, that's on the east side of the Jordan, okay?
Right.
And we know what tribes those are for. Then he goes to Reuben. And then who else do you have as well in that chapter? Should be on your left-hand margin.
Well, you have Reuben, you have the half tribe of Manasseh,
Right.
then you have Reuben again, then you have Gad, then you have the half tribe of Manasseh.
Good. And that's what you
God
want to have, because you want to know, okay, it is. Well, then where's this and where's that? So,
Levi
Oh,
is
Levi's
talked about, but he doesn't have land.
Right.
Levi's
right.
sprinkled in twice.
Levi's, it goes in
He's got
twice.
sprinkled in there, though.
Good.
One verse.
Because we got to know what about him, because every tribe's got to have a Levi within them. They have to have a priest within them.
Amen.
Okay, 24 to 28 was Gad's inheritance, and then we got half of Manasseh's tribe, and then we have Levi. What's so interesting about Levi?
He's repeated.
All the time.
Yeah.
He didn't get an inheritance. How come?
This inheritance.
It wasn't his job.
Right.
They had different assignments.
He got a really good inheritance. Right. The Lord was his inheritance. Okay, but he has family, he has flocks. Where are all those supposed to go?
Into the city.
I would guess that they live in the cities.
When we looked at the tribes,
They received 48 towns with pasture land.
Yeah.
With pasture
land,
land.
Yes.
Yeah.
they have to
So
have
they can
pasture
provide
land.
themselves.
Do they bring sacrifices for themselves to the temple?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have to have flocks to pull from in order to do that. Now, are they farmers?
No.
They are not farmers. They hold sheep.
They're butchers.
Yeah, they're butchers. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Okay? And again, the Lord himself was their inheritance.
Amen.
I see that
So-
as huge, but then Levi got passed over for firstborn rights and went to Judah.
He wasn't firstborn.
Well, yeah, but he was before Judah.
Yes.
But Judah
Judah
got the
didn't get it
lineage
either.
of Christ and the firstborn, although Levi didn't. But Levi's getting this, which I see as huge. So
Huge.
yeah,
Why Levi? Why you? Right?
Because he said so.
What are you?
This is the plan.
If we have to apply something to ourselves on chapter 13, what are you? You're not Gad, and you're not the half tribe of Manasseh, nor are you Reuben.
Oh, it'll be Levi
Then you'd have to be Levi because Levites are.
Priests.
And what are you?
Priest.
In New Testament.
And we
Hebrews
inherit
tells
the
you
Lord.
that you are priests, right? So, what's your inheritance?
The Lord.
Himself.
The Lord Himself is your inheritance.
What greater inheritance is
What
it?
greater inheritance is there? There isn't.
sometimes I feel like I'm Reuben and Gad though. They
Yes.
took the first land they saw. It looks good. We're gonna take this.
We're,
I don't want the better stuff. I want
yeah,
this.
yeah. I'm right here. We're good.
Yeah.
This looks really good. My sheep
good.
like it. I'm good. Right? I agree. Okay, you went to your cross references, page 46 of your homework, on Deuteronomy, and because they're describing the Levites. Tell me what you learned about Levites here.
No portion of land.
Right?
They'll eat of the Lord's offerings.
They eat of the Lord's offerings brought to the Lord by the people. Right? When the people were in disobedience and they went into idol worship and stuff, what do you think happened to the Levites?
Got hungry.
They got hungry. What do you think that did to the Lord's heart?
Greed.
He's their inheritance,
Mm-hmm.
but the people are not obeying his perfect plan.
Wow.
So somebody's greatly suffering. So what do you think they ate off of? They're not farmers. Remember, they're not farmers.
No, but they had sheep, you
They
say.
had
They
sheep.
had sheep, so
They ate the sacrifices.
They ate the sacrifices.
It also said that they, when they came to a home, when they were away from
Yes.
worship, that they could expect anything that they wanted food-wise.
That's right. It was actually
They
an honor.
prospered with food.
That's how I took it anyway. It was
Yeah.
an honor for a Levite to stay in your home.
What does that mean, that receive from the sale of their father's estates?
Yeah, I had a question on that too.
Some of
Yeah.
the cities.
I
I
question
think
mark.
some of the cities. I was questioning that too. I'm like, I think some of the cities or their homes or something, if they moved, I think that's how they got money.
money.
Was then again, but how come they? No, it didn't say they didn't have homes. It said they
Right.
didn't have land.
But possessions.
Right, and they could sell their homes just like we sell our homes because they're in the land. Right, right.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be money, but that's not what they need.
Yeah, they need substance.
They need substance. Right, right. So it's like,
And that's why the Lord said, don't, just because they have that, don't count that as their income. You still need to take care of it.
yes,
Right.
correct, correct. Okay, why? How is this significant? Should I say?
We're supposed
First
to,
fruits of grain, wine, oil were theirs, and the first shearing of the sheep were theirs. That's what the people were supposed to bring to the Levites. Why is that significant?
we're supposed to bring that to
They
Christ.
should have the best. And what?
We're supposed to bring that to
We're
Christ.
supposed to bring that to Christ, and they pretty much resembled, signified Christ, because that's the obedience to the priest at the temple, who was sacrificing the blood for your sin. He's being obedient. First fruits of grain, what does that mean?
Wheat,
Wheat, that makes their bread.
Yeah.
Wine,
that was their liquid.
that was their liquid. That's how they drink. Oil, you have to have oil to make bread. And the first shearing of the sheep, what would they do with that? Clothing. Anything else?
Coverings.
But didn't they have the oil also for lamps?
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lighting in their houses.
I've heard we're supposed to treat our pastors and stuff like that too. We're
Yes.
supposed to give our first fruits to the church.
That's right. That's how
There's-
people should look at tithe.
In the black community, they actually they brag over how rich their pastors are because it's
I
a
love
showing
that.
thing, like the cars they drive and stuff, because they want to show the world they take care of their pastors.
They love their pastor.
So like it's a prideful thing to them in black churches to like have
It
a pastor with a huge home and a nice car because it means that they're giving their first
Well, it
fruits.
shouldn't be a burden to be a pastor.
Yeah.
It just
Don't muzzle the ox.
right as he's working.
But it is in a lot of small churches.
Oh yeah, they have to be
Otherwise,
bivocational.
yeah.
It's just not there. Deuteronomy 17. That was interesting. I didn't know they were.
Like a
As
judge.
judges.
Oh,
Yeah.
the judges.
What they call it, judge, jury, and
And they were teaching them.
I don't remember. It's always the
Executioner.
That's it. They
Like, they
executed
lay it
the
down.
law. This is what we decided, then this is what happens. What happens if they didn't do that and they didn't obey the judgment of the Levite?
Your charge.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
They died. They were put to death as a deterrent to other people doing evil.
Right, right.
It was considered
Quick
contempt
to
of court.
listen to
It was
them.
contempt of court. There you go. And what?
Be quick to listen to them. And
Be
do
quick
it.
to listen. If this is what they've decided, then this is what
Yeah.
you do. Who took over that once they didn't have just judges and priests anymore? Kings. Right. And then Malachi. What did you learn in Malachi?
I have sent my covenant
Continues.
my covenant make my covenant.
He made a
with
covenant
Levi.
with Levi.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Is that
continue.
breakable?
Oh, no.
How long is it?
Inside.
Life
Forever.
and peace. Oh,
Okay? Forever.
And it's
They
like that.
were
This is
messengers of the
beautiful.
Lord of hosts, and yes, they were life and peace. That's a quick
With
evidence.
him was of life and oh, so beautiful.
So what do you do when you read about these wicked priests like Hophni and Phinehas and Eli? What do you do with that?
It's not funny because they know what they has to know the word. And
It's
still
their
they
responsibility to
choose.
teach people the word.
And they know what has happened. It just
So what do you do underneath an evil priest like that, whose dad isn't doing anything to reel his sons in
Just
to
what
not be so evil?
you do today when the judge is evil. You
Right.
live with it.
What do you bring in your sacrifices? What if they don't do the sacrifice the way they're supposed to and what God says?
You're still
still
obeying
doing
You're still
the
obeying.
initial
Exactly.
command from God.
because
You're
God,
still
Lord
following.
will, yeah, Lord
You
will
have
deal
your
with the evil
responsibility,
ones.
they have their
Exactly.
responsibility.
Your obedience is this way.
That's right. Okay? They're doing it,
Yes.
and then what the priest does with it,
It's yeah.
he has to answer to God before that.
Exactly.
Don't you
Okay.
think there are people under him that follow the Levi's attitude and et cetera and do wrong, just like if
Absolutely.
you have a wrong minister?
Absolutely. I think they did. I mean,
Think how
because
many-
they weren't the only ones in the temple.
I don't think how many people in this world are drawn away by some
Right.
false preacher.
Exactly. So dangerous.
Abusing their position.
So, because remember, their covenant was forever. And they were messengers of the Lord of hosts. So what kind of a example of the Lord of hosts are they giving?
Those two are not good.
They were very evil, but again, how do we do that? Look at me. Am I giving the right example I'm supposed to of the Lord because I am his messenger? Okay, if you had to do a theme for Joshua 14, really short one.
Yeah,
Like-
right.
Right? Yay!
After all of
Right, right?
Happy
Right?
birthday to Kate.
Exactly. So, what'd you name? I mean, you have to put Caleb in there somewhere, right?
Caleb's inheritance.
60 was my favorite.
I like that too. And
I
the
looked
rest
how
of
many
these-
times I checked it.
Is that Now remember, the rest of these are going to be somebody's inheritance. I mean, this is what the theme should be. Is somebody's inheritance. Whose inheritance is this? Caleb's inheritance. It's not a tribe. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
For someone
is
to
a
be
person.
separated in.
Right.
Don't, it's
Right.
honoring him because of what he did in the
Yes,
first place.
that's exactly right. Joshua has been honored by being Moses' successor. Caleb is honored, gets his own inheritance.
That was promised to him.
He was
Promised to him.
Chosen.
He was a Canaanite.
Obedience.
He was a Canaanite.
Before the Exodus, he was a Canaanite. He kind of grafted into the Judites. That's what I read.
Yeah.
I read a bunch
think
of
I did
different
that.
opinions of that. It was interesting. Apparently, they don't really know because it was talking about how, like, it said his father was a Kenizzite, so like
Right.
it was not far past. I mean, because he wasn't that old when he was when
Then
he
how did he get
during
into
the
the-
Exodus. So did his father go join the Israelites during
Yeah, I don't know.
slavery? Doesn't make any sense. So there's a lot of interesting. They don't know because it doesn't make sense that he would join Israel while they were in slavery.
No.
But he obviously was part of Israel
Or
while they were in
wandering.
slavery. So why would they? But it was his father. They specifically said was a.
No, that I can't track. I'm not going with that one. I'm not going to jump on that wagon because that doesn't fit with them coming out of the wilderness,
No, it doesn't.
grumbling, and now he's sentenced to 40 years of wandering. He would Egyptian maybe an Egyptian that came out,
That makes much more sense.
but I don't know about a Canaanite. Question mark.
Question mark, big one.
Big
If they
question
don't
mark.
know, we probably won't find out.
Right.
For one of them, they'll know.
The diggers. I love it. It's like, what did you find out?
Just got it.
I looked and I couldn't find it.
Time.
So,
Yes.
okay, if we're going to go verse by verse, okay? Overview of the inheritance given to all the tribes. That's the summary of verses 1 through 5. Then you get to verse 6. Now remember, this was helpful too. It wasn't just Joshua apportioning all the land. You got Eleazar the priest and the heads of all the tribes, okay? So remember that. Remember when we were studying those tribes and we pushed out each one, there was always a leader grabbed from each tribe, okay? Then you get both of Joseph's sons.
Yep.
What do you remember about that when we were going over that? Ephraim and Manasseh. Because it doesn't say the inheritance of Joseph.
Right.
It doesn't say that.
No.
But he's the son of Jacob. How does that fit? Then we're going to have 13. But we don't have 13.
No, because
We have
they
12.
they replaced Joseph and then Levi.
And Levi
really,
does it.
because
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's math in there. And it's like,
That
this
right.
isn't adding up. I don't understand. Wait, it's like, but it does. Good. Okay. Remember in Genesis 48, Jacob adopted them as his two sons. These are mine. These two sons are mine. Just like Joseph is mine, but these aren't my grandchildren. These are my sons. Now, whoever you have after that, that's yours. They're my grandsons, they're your sons, whatever. But Ephraim and Manasseh, mine.
They were first, one of them was firstborn.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we never say his name first.
Well, remember
Why?
he switched his hands.
On purpose.
On
Yeah.
purpose, and then
Because-
Joseph put them back, and then he did
Right?
it again.
Because the younger will be greater than
That's
the older.
it. Just like Jacob and Esau. It should have been
Isn't it?
Esau and Jacob, but it was Jacob and Esau.
And it's so funny because Daddy was like, this one is a.
Yeah, no, Dad,
He
you're doing it
gently
wrong.
said that, no.
I know what I'm doing.
He's
I
going
know
to
I'm
be
old.
great too, but the younger will be
That's
greater
it.
than.
Okay? Caleb is from the tribe of Judah. Now, what do we know about the tribe of Judah?
It's the
big one.
largest.
What?
That's the promised line. The line of Christ.
Promised line of Christ. Good.
Isn't it the largest?
It's the biggest single
Yes.
tribe.
Right.
Keep that thought. It's the biggest single tribe there is. How comforting is it when you know somebody else was standing right there by you and they heard what he said and they're still alive? And everybody else. I mean, they've buried everybody else that actually heard it. But Joshua heard it. He heard what Moses said and what he promised to Caleb. So he's bringing it back around. He goes, Joshua, you heard what Moses said. Okay? Again, what do you think would have happened if Joshua goes, I remember that?
Oi, next.
Those things happen
You ever had anybody do that to you?
all the time.
Yes.
But you were standing right
I
there.
know.
You heard exactly what they said. I don't remember that
And no one else
exactly.
is to vouch for you.
And there's nobody. There's nobody there to go, I'm with you. I heard it. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's what Joshua did to Caleb. That's comforting. Wow. That's a bond that is not broken. That's somebody that has your back and evidently has had his back for a long time. Because again, they're the only two that are going to remain alive, and they know that. That creates a bond there too.
I thought it was interesting in his talk with Joshua. He's saying, I was 40 years old and I brought back word, and there's no we. Like, it's all I. It's like, but he was there with you and he was on your side. Like,
Right,
I thought that was really weird. I'm like reading it 3 times. He is talking to Joshua, right?
Yep, he is.
Interesting wording, in my opinion.
However, I think it would have been the same way, because it's like, look, you're the leader, we know what you're getting, now it's my turn. I've been here 40 years, and we know what your job is. Now this is my job. This
In
is what
case
I
you
get
have
now, because
forgotten.
you've gotten yours.
In case
Yeah,
you've forgotten,
don't
I.
forget me. We know Caleb was 40 years old when he set out as a spy, and now we know he's 85. How long have they been wandering the wilderness?
40 years.
40 years.
5 years in the
So they could have been fighting now for 5 years. It's just possible.
Wasn't it? Well, it was 40 years total in the desert, but that was like a year in that they actually spied, right?
They gave me a note here about the calculation. They said from this chapter it can be calculated that the conquest of the land has taken 7 years.
Yeah, because it was 2 years before they got to before the spies went in.
Right.
They were in the desert 2 years, spies went in, and then they had 38 more years in the
Right,
desert.
that's what I read.
Yeah.
38 years.
40 when he
That's-
spied out the land in Kadesh Barnea, but Deuteronomy 2:14 said it was 38 years from Kadesh Barnea to
Yeah.
Zered.
Right.
So he would have been 78. And after they crossed the river, Zered, then the conquest of Sihon and Og, because that's on the east side, 7 years later when he was 85. So
So 7 years.
7 years, if you're just reading it, 5. But if you know all the history, 7. So however you want to put on the, the next, and then, reference Deuteronomy 2:14 so that we know he's 78. But again, we know he brought back a good report. Why did they say in his heart? He brought back a report that was in his heart.
Well, because he was contrary to all the rest of them, so it had to be a deep feeling in order for him to go against them.
Exactly.
He was
That's a
passionate.
good
If you read what he
point.
said to the Israelites, he was passionate.
He- oh,
the
yeah.
other guys were saying that he's the one that spoke up, not Joshua, and he was very passionate about
Right, and
the
he
fact that
quieted
we can't
people.
take this.
Convicted.
He was convicted, yeah, that this is the land, this is where God told us to go, and so this is what he saw.
believed it, yeah.
And we can do it.
The other 11 or 10 didn't see that,
The Lord said it.
and he just that's his perspective. Good. Verse 8. He followed the Lord his God
Amen.
fully. Who gave him that description first, though? God did. Okay? In Numbers 14:24, God described him. One who has a different spirit and has followed me fully. So, Caleb's just quoting God. He's not making it up. He said, this is what God said about me, so I'm going to tell you this is what God said about me. Because this is true. Verse 12. What do we know about the Anakim?
Giants.
They're giants. How old is he?
85.
He's 85. And he still thinks he can take them on.
That wasn't as old as today.
He knows God is there. That is so awesome. I'm sorry, honey.
That wasn't as old as 85 is today.
No. I agree. I don't think they
Just
age
saying.
like.
I mean, I'm thinking of Weldon. He's not going to go up and take the giant,
Right?
even though he's.
And God has preserved him, though. He
Yeah.
has kept him just as strong as he was then as he is now.
I like where it says, perhaps the Lord will be with me.
Perhaps the Lord will be with me.
I'm going to go fight these giants. Perhaps the Lord will be with me.
I know. This is a drama coach's nightmare, really.
Well, at least he knows that it's the Lord doing it.
And he's
Yes.
known that the whole time.
Yes.
Yes,
That's where his strength
that's
comes
the
from.
thing.
As far as defeating
Think
him.
about that. What do we know about the Israelites as they wandered for 40 years? What do we know about their clothing and everything?
Didn't
Never
wear
wear
out.
out.
Never wore out, which that includes Caleb.
And that shoes, too.
That's right.
I went on
Okay.
a mission trip in Jamaica with, he was in the mid-80s, he might have been 84, a man. It was a family mission trip, so it was kids to adults. And he worked harder than he did. We were like hauling concrete and stuff. And that guy, I was impressed.
He
Like,
was right there with them.
Oh, he was working
Wow.
harder than most of the other people. So it's possible.
Oh, I know it's possible. Joshua gives him Hebron. So if this is a city of refuge as an inheritance, you're going to have a problem. But we did read later on that he got the outskirts. They were naming different cities that used to be, remember, named after Kiriath Arba, for Arba was the greatest man among the Anakim. So he got that, was formerly Kiriath Arba, for Arba. Okay, so but that also reaches out. It doesn't just Hebron, it reaches out. So he also got all the outskirts of that. What do you know about a city of refuge? I'm just assuming that you do.
You
You're
go
not always going to
there.
have the greatest people there.
Well, that's where you went to hide out or to wait
If you got sworn.
if you were
Did
accused of
something.
something
Right.
until your judgment, and while you were in that city, judgment could not be executed on you if you stepped outside of it.
Kill.
All bets are off.
Yep.
Right.
But as
So this
Judy
is where the
said,
blood
you never-
avenger went.
You never know who's going to be there.
You never
Guilty
know,
or not.
right? This could be
I
innocent
know,
people
right?
waiting for their innocence to be good, or this could be really guilty people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Or a
bad
mixture.
people.
Yeah.
Okay?
And now what goes through my mind is, our cities of refuge today, did those people, did they know about the Old
That's
Testament?
what I don't know. It's not an original idea, put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now.
And of course, they've very much construed it,
Very
but
much.
I just,
Don't you wonder? Yeah, I do wonder something. Where'd you get that idea?
Yeah.
It's just they don't
Not original.
They don't have the same rules.
They do
no,
not.
they construed it.
What do we know about a blood avenger? I mean, this is where he's headed. He would be headed to a city of refuge. There would be blood avengers outside the city of refuge. Why?
They
waiting
can kill them.
for the
That's
person
right.
to come out. But I do believe, and this is from reading about them when we were doing another study, that if you were in a city of refuge, if you had gone there to take refuge, if you committed a crime in that city, you were
While you
put
were
out.
there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you will be glad.
Wow.
So it wasn't just bad people who could live there and do whatever they pleased. If they were not upright, strict, law-abiding, boom,
And they're on a time limit.
they're thrown out.
It's not like they can
Yes.
stay there forever.
Yes.
They're just waiting for the judge to go, oh, yes, you did it, or no, you didn't, so the blood avenger can't touch you.
Right.
Right.
One of the things I was reading, it's not just that city. You got areas like smaller cities outside of that. That was
Exactly.
the thing, 'cause, like even
The
in
outskirts.
chapter 15, it says in verse 13, it says namely Kira Arba and
Right.
Kadesh Hebron.
Right.
So that was the big city. He got some other land
All the
too.
outskirts
So
of it too.
It wasn't just that city.
But, so that means that's more he has to conquer, right? More people he's gotta go.
More cities not
Okay,
going.
chapter 15. It's gotta be somebody's inheritance. Whose is it? Judah's, right. So that could be your theme. Verses 1 to 12. This is where you're getting out your map, right?
Yeah.
Where's the city? Where's that city? Okay, I know this, and hopefully you have that map that I handed out, maybe even studies ago, that has the
boundaries of the
tribes.
tribes,
right.
Yes, and it was in our review that we did as well. So that helps a lot.
Yes.
Though you can fudge a little bit on the boundary lines according to the cities, depending on where they think they were and where they are, and that'll just keep changing as excavations uncover more and more. Okay, you got the land's borders from 1 to 12.
Very.
13 to 19, what are those about?
Caleb and the daughters.
Caleb.
What about us?
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? He took his possession and he drove out 3 sons of Anak. Okay, so was the Lord with him? Perhaps the Lord will be with him.
Perhaps.
That would be a good cross-reference.
Either that or I'll die. I'm getting old.
Maybe I'll die tomorrow, yeah. Caleb gives Oxah, his daughter, to his nephew Othniel as a wife. So what do we know about Othniel? Because what were the terms?
God used him in
God
that way.
used him because he had to be a warrior then. Because how did he get Oxah?
Yeah.
Because he fought,
He fought, and he had to win.
right?
He had to take it.
So Caleb takes 3 cities. It says Caleb took those 3 cities. And then he says, oh, whoever takes this one, I'll give my daughter. It's like, I'm tired of fighting. Why is he suddenly...
Why now?
I
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I
why
don't
did he
know.
suddenly decide, like, I'm not going to take anymore. Somebody else do this
Right?
one.
But again, you're talking about a Jewish book, Jewish families, and sometimes Jewish mamas have a little man they want for their wife, and they talk to their hubby, and hubby makes a plan, and that's how Jewish mamas do it. I want him for her,
Maybe
so
she was
handle it.
getting worried about getting rid of the daughter.
Whoa.
We better come up with a deal.
She's a smart cookie. Oxa's a smart cookie.
Yeah.
Yes.
She gets the Negev, but she knows it's going to have water.
Uh-huh.
We need water too.
So,
Yeah.
Dad,
It
what
makes
do you
sense,
want?
right?
I want a blessing.
You don't want me to dry up.
Right?
I mean, look at my beautiful skin.
Exactly.
I need water.
I need water. My family will need water.
That's
Your
right.
grandchildren will
Right,
need
right,
water
right.
to drink, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Smart cookie.
Can you imagine how good it felt to give his daughter something, though? They've been in the desert
yeah.
for so long, not getting new things. They haven't
Oh,
had land.
that's a great point.
I mean, all the stuff they've been through and him having kids through it and everything else. And then finally he has something to give his daughter.
And what a great thing of possessing his possessions. That now he can bless his daughter with one of his possessions.
Right.
That
Like,
he's
he
possessed.
has land to give his daughter. Like, that has to feel good.
That
after all
has to
this
feel
time.
good. That's a good insight.
Don't we do that too?
We do as parents. Yeah. Judges 1. You may not have caught that, but again, Caleb's part of the tribe of Judah. Judah went in to fight Zephath, whatever. Caleb had to be in that war because he's one of the warriors of Judah. And then we know Othniel becomes a what? He knew when he picked,
Yes.
this guy's going to go and he's going to conquer the city because he stood out already. So now he's not just a warrior, he's a judge. That's just huge. And 40 years he was a judge. And then it said the land had rest. while he wasn't judged. He was a good judge. He was respected. So then we talk about Judah's cities. In verse 63, I don't remember if you remember our review about the people that were in Jerusalem, and they were left there by the tribe of Judah, Jebusites. Yeah, living in Jerusalem, how come? I got really tired of reading this, I guess.
How come they were still living there?
I don't know.
Because Judah, and I'm going to take exception with your wording here because it's different, could not drive them out.
But could they?
Well, and that's why I'm wondering, because in the other places it says did not,
I noticed that too.
but here it says could not.
Well, the other places they took him as servants. This one doesn't say they took him as servants either.
No.
They made him, yes.
All the
forced
other
labor.
ones they did not, and they
So
took him as
they-
servants. So they chose instead to kill him to take him as
And it
servants.
says they
This
could
one
They
not,
gave, yeah, it says
and that they
sons
lived
of
with them.
Israel
Yeah.
become strong, and still they didn't drive them.
But if God gives them a job to do,
That
can they do it?
they
There
can do
was
it.
one of our cross references we looked up, and it was talking about how God left
Some of them in there
left some of
to
them
war.
to, and that the Jebusites was listed as one of the ones they left. So it could be that God didn't want to drive them out because it was a.
It could be.
And that's kind of what I was thinking,
That's
maybe
kind
the
of where I
wording,
saw it.
that for some reason there's a purpose here.
But it's not
There
good.
is 17
This is not completely obeying the
either
Lord.
way.
No.
Right.
17:12 it said it
Yes,
could
I
not
got
take,
that
and
too.
then 13 sons of Israel became strong, but they still didn't do
They
it.
still, they became strong.
Maybe
Okay,
they
strong.
came,
Why
maybe
would
they
they do that?
Which one was this? Where are you talking about?
17, 12, and 13. Maybe because
That
they
was-
came,
well,
you
that's
know,
talking about that's the
comfortable.
Canaanites. That's talking about the Canaanites. This isn't Jebusites.
No, that's Jebusites instead of Canaanites. You're right.
Yeah, that's
she's
the
right.
Canaanites. The Canaanites they took as servants. They did end up becoming strong
Yeah.
and took them as servants.
But the Jebusites they lived with.
But
the
still
Jebusites
they
they lived with.
Yeah.
They still had some living in here too. Yeah, they're
Yeah, but that was
different
Canaanites,
tribe,
different.
but you
But
know.
why is Jerusalem such
Yeah.
a big deal? If the Jebusites are in Jerusalem.
Because that's Jerusalem.
Well, I mean, it becomes their holy city.
Yes.
Yeah.
And God knows that this is where the temple is going to be built, and God knows that this is where Jesus is going to come back, and God knows
Right.
that.
At this time, he knows this because it's already pre-planned.
Right. That's
So
right.
Jerusalem is already,
So why mention
The beacon.
Why mention Jerusalem?
because of what's coming.
Exactly.
Right, right.
This
Well, one of
is
the
a
reasons
huge
I
city.
wonder if it's one that God left on purpose is because Caleb's in Judah, and like Caleb's been doing,
It's
you
in
know,
Judah. They're
Judah
not in
is led by
Jerusalem.
Caleb, so the fact
Yeah.
that Caleb didn't take over Jerusalem is kind of isn't that weird? Because Caleb
Yeah,
hasn't
I mean-
Doesn't
done
seem right,
anything,
does it?
It
right?
made me question that for some reason there's a different circumstance here that we don't understand or know about.
And there could be, but it doesn't make it right.
No, but it's
That's
still-
where I am.
Although-
If God gives you a job to do,
Hold
and
on
you're
a
supposed to
minute.
go in and take it fully, then you should take
I
it
am
fully.
going to tell you guys this because I found this. We debated last week what tribe actually had Jerusalem.
What tribe had Jerusalem? Uh-huh.
It's Benjamin.
Oh, is it?
It's Benjamin. Judges 1:21. It says the Jerusalem is in Benjamin's territory.
Is in Benjamin's
So this is
territory.
listed in this chapter, which is all about Judah.
Right.
I was like,
They fought over it.
okay.
They fought over it. That's weird.
That would be a good rabbit to chase, especially with a Jewish person,
Because that popped out.
a rabbi. That would be awesome.
It-
That's a
it
Dennis
start-
Prager question.
It starts the disobedience,
Yeah, that's
Yes.
the point.
and
Judges 1:9 says Judah could not drive out the inhabitants. How come? This is part of your
They
cross
have
references.
chariots.
well, according to him, he said,
Yeah.
Chariots of
we
fire."
can't fight them.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
have tools.
And when you hear chariots, where does that take you back to?
Egypt.
Yeah.
Egypt, and those chariots coming after him at the Red Sea. Nobody in that whole thing experienced that. Nobody.
But they heard the story,
They
and the
heard the
chariots
story.
were taken care of.
Exactly. The water
So what
came
are they
right over
afraid-
him on the Red
Why are
Sea.
you afraid?
Why are we afraid?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I go back and only go by what I see rather than
Yeah.
what I know?
Mhm.
I know this, that this is what I see, but this, you know that's not, I know, but I can touchy feel it, and then it's like, but that's not true. I know, but I can.
It's the same struggle
It's the
we have.
same thing. It's the same thing. Israel had the Lord behind him. Did they know that?
They've been told,
They've been
and
told and
told,
told
they
and
saw
told.
it, they saw it.
Right?
They heard about
They
it.
told and told and then retold.
We
And
have
then
been
hopefully
told
when they went to
and
bed
told.
at night, you know,
Yes.
you know, you're supposed to teach them when they lay down, when they rise up, and when they walk in the way. And if they're following the Lord fully, then they're teaching the children, and you're hearing the word when they lie down, when they rise up, and when they walk. That's what you're hearing, because He
that's
says back in
us
chapter
too.
1, "Do not depart from this law."
The same.
That's us.
To us.
That's the same responsibility we have. So we have the Lord behind us.
Yes, we, yeah.
Chariots of iron. I mean, it may not be chariots of iron, but it's something else that, you know, we call it squirrel. It's like, it's not squirrel, it's like fear, intrepidation, whatever, okay? Judah kept the enemy within their borders. Why is that dangerous?
Because it's disobedience.
It's disobedience, number one.
Influences of their God.
Number 2 is the influences. That's the worst thing right there, because what do we know they do?
Infiltrate.
Start and marrying.
I don't know.
Intermarrying, right? But Mama, I love him. You know, you can hear that. You know, but Daddy, I have to have her. Right? Yeah, but he's not of the.
They relax
We're not supposed
their
to. We're not supposed to intermarry. God says we're not supposed to intermarry. Or, but I don't know. Just died.
So you have physical
that.
boundaries, and now you have spiritual boundaries,
And they'll lead them into idol worship. And God said when they do that,
Yeah.
they'll lead you astray and your heart will go away. And that's exactly what we know from history happened to them.
What happens today, too.
It happens today. It happens. It's just a little thing, no? That's the most important thing,
obedience.
right? Yeah, again, as we raise our kid, there is no missionary
Your
dating.
eyes off God.
No missionary date.
This lesson has made me think that, you know, always before I said, why did they do it? And now it's like,
Why do I
do it?
Yeah.
I was thinking the same
Right?
thing. Oh my goodness.
They did not follow the Lord their God fully. I can't come to another conclusion.
Yeah.
Because when I don't follow the Lord fully, I let an enemy stay here, or here, or here. And that's not where they're supposed to be. If the Lord was behind them, He's behind me because He's in me. It's even better.
amen.
Chapter 16. How would you
This one's 16.
theme that?
I think there's one sound inheritance.
Ephraim, but who's firstborn?
Joseph's inheritance, part 1, Ephraim. That's what I put. 'Cause it's 2 times of Joseph. It's just
That
split
sounds
in
good.
2.
That sounds good.
We're on
Joseph
part
part 1.
Okay.
Joseph part 2.
But I added to mine because
Who else is somebody
I
else
actually
mentioned?
listed Ephraim's inheritance. It was the Canaanites, because they didn't get rid of them.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
No, they
But they
didn't.
became forced laborers. So they,
Still,
You still got
but
that.
you still didn't
And
get
he's
rid of them.
got the influence, and they're right here with
I put a whole
you.
thing on
Yeah.
when we think you're better than God on that. Because that's
right?
what I saw when I'm reading it. You know, they're thinking, hey, this is useful for us, and, you know,
Exactly.
they're not going to
They
affect
got
us, and we can
something.
use them, and they can serve God through our servanthood and
Yeah.
justifying where God
Makes
is
my life
going.
easier.
Don't need
Or,
to do that.
hey, we don't want to kill them. That's wrong. That's
Right.
bad.
Right.
They're
Right.
not. They're wanting to be servants. So should
Or they're
we
just a little kid.
When we try to go with our own emotions or our own justification rather than what God said,
Never best. Never best. Maybe I should say that.
but it's easy to do because it's. You know.
It is.
Well,
Well, God says to
We
love
get
people, so
comfortable.
we should just take them as our servants.
And I think I do it more often than I would like to admit.
Mhm.
If I sat back and did this, I was like, well, do you allow this in and this in and this in? And I do.
And that's that spiritual boundary we
Cross it.
shift.
Yep. And I don't follow the Lord fully, but it looks like I am.
Yeah.
It looks like it.
Well, I can totally see it today with tolerance and everything. Like, I mean, us today, you're killing everybody. That's just wrong.
Right.
You should save them as servants. You should do this. You shouldn't, you know, that's how we justify
Or
it.
there's only one right way. Well, that's intolerant.
What
And
happened
you're
to
being
David
very
when
unkind.
he didn't go to the war?
How is that loving? There can't be just one way. Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, there is just one way. There's only
Even-
one way to
even
heaven,
him.
and that is Jesus. That's it. The end.
We can't rely on our emotions. We have to rely on what the Word of God says.
Yes, yes.
Because sometimes it
But
seems
then
like
our
it's
lives
right.
have to exemplify it. That's where you don't want to go. They did not completely drive out the Canaanites. They did not completely drive. No, they did not. I keep thinking that there's reports coming back to Joshua. Okay, I apportioned the land to Ephraim. I apportioned the land to Judah. I apportioned. So what is their job? What are they supposed to do?
Conquer that land.
Yeah.
Go in and drive out them
Drive
completely.
out them, yeah.
And these reports keep coming back to him. They did not drive them out completely. They didn't.
So they're not all
drive them
fighting
out.
against a big army now. They're all split up, right?
I think each brother is helping ones, and as land is conquered, they go and they have to help each tribe
Right.
conquer
Just like
their
the 2
lands.
and a
But
half.
as it's conquered, they go settle. Because remember, their families aren't on the east side of the Jordan.
Right.
They're right there with them in Hebron. No, Gilgal. They're in Gilgal, so they come out of Gilgal, and that's in my head. That's what's happening. They come out and they go to their portioned land, and they make their home because this is home now forever.
These little ones and
Genesis 48:17 in your cross references, page 50. What'd you find?
That's the one where the father blessed the different ones.
Correct. That's where Jacob crossed his hands.
Yeah.
And Joseph's going, no, Dad, I know you're old and you're blind. Let me fix this for you. No, this is the way it's supposed to be.
displeased.
Because he was given the blessing and he knew who to bless for what. Okay? His descendants were to become a multitude. Okay? I have down here, what did the Gibeonites do? What do you remember about the Gibeonites?
They approached
Those are the ones that.
lying and deceiving.
Lying and made a
Their
covenant.
clothes were old.
Right. So if people are becoming forced laborers, they're joining the Gibeonites in becoming forced laborers. So don't forget about those guys.
Yeah,
They're not to be completely driven out because they're in covenant.
right.
So they get to stay.
What about them?
Yeah.
You did it for them,
Right.
you do it for us.
However, they might have known these people that are coming in to be forced labor because they're in occupying land that they were in, and now they might have some buddies now that are becoming forced labor. Or they may have lost some buddies in war. So, but if you're a Gibeonite, you're not afraid of being killed.
Protected.
You're
Yeah.
totally protected. You may be forced labor, but
Yeah.
they're never going to kill me. Okay, in chapter 17.
Oh, there we are. Manasseh.
Whose inheritance is this? Manasseh's inheritance, the other half. Right, okay. Verses 1 to 6.
It's really part 3 of Joseph.
Yeah.
Really?
That is so true.
Really part 3 of Joseph. We
Even
had the other half earlier.
Manasseh. That's right. What do you know about Gilead and Bashan? When you look at them on a map, whose kingdoms were those? Og.
Yeah, that's up in the very.
Sihon and Og. Not good kings. Boy, you go back and you find them, they were bad, evil enemies of Israel. So who's getting their land? Manasseh.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And he's a pretty big tribe. They're on the east side of the Jordan. Remember, that's the half tribe. They get Og's kingdom. Which is fun to remember when you're reading, I don't know, the rest of the Old Testament. Every time you come against Sihon and Og, it's like, oh, they're losing that. Eventually, they're going to lose that land to Manasseh, which is great. Because when you read the stories of them, they're very evil. Okay, so we got Zelophehad, the only daughters, got their father's inheritance. Right? They're only daughters. Again, we read about that when we were doing the review of the tribes. But remember, the land must stay within the family. You got to have a hubby to have children to keep it in line, so you keep the land. So they married their uncles. So as long as you understand, that's how they got to keep the land. Okay? Why does God put women? I mean, in Jewish history, women were just there to birth babies. Well, that's it. We knew that from when we were reading about Rachel and Leah, their 2 handmaids. They weren't honored. They were
God
there
didn't
to
mean
produce.
it that way.
But God didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
No. So I think that's sometimes why he throws those women in there. It's like, hey, I didn't forget them. Because they could have said no. No, I'm sorry. You only had daughters. Sorry about that. But he didn't say no. That was Moses. Manasseh's land on the west side of the Jordan is verses 7 to 13. Anything else? I don't like to read verse 13, but it is there.
Well, that's how it
Makes me wonder what-
Manasseh did not drive out the king.
Again, it goes right back to Joshua. Well, guess what?
They got comfortable.
They didn't do it either.
It really makes me wonder what happened though, because at first, for verse 12 it says that they couldn't drive them out, and then verse 13,
Yes.
but when they became strong. I'm like,
Yeah.
what did they suddenly do to become strong? They've been working out.
What does that mean?
What does it mean that when they suddenly became strong? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what that, and that's what I'm like. But you had all the rest of the tribes there to help you drive them out.
What happened?
So why do you become strong there and you weren't strong at the beginning?
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
didn't want to do that hard labor, just like Egyptians didn't like to do. They got comfortable.
So they
and
want
made-
people to do it for
Yeah.
them.
Lazy, yeah.
That could be an attitude.
We
It's
have
always
that
been
attitude sometimes.
Maybe something got strong in their faith. Maybe they like their faith, got rallied up and they got strong in their faith and they were able to
Maybe
do it.
that's what they
Maybe
need.
it's just faith strong, not a physical strong.
Mental.
Mental.
Mental instead of physical.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird.
Joseph's sons asked for more land.
Yeah.
Now, we're not talking about just Manasseh, we're talking about Ephraim and Manasseh.
Yeah.
We need more land.
Yeah, see, this is what I see in the whole like being lazy part.
Right, so you could kind of go with that.
Yeah, that was where I was.
Yeah.
They had,
Go
Joshua
ahead.
told them they had great power, did they?
Yes.
Even numerically they did, but they had the Lord behind them.
They didn't have great power. and-
Mentally, I don't know, yeah. And they gave them the hill country as well. Now, in Numbers 26, we know Ephraim has 32,500 people. Manasseh has 52,700 people. So total, 85,200 people. That's a lot of people. That is a lot of people. But who's the single tribe that's the most? Judah, and Judah has 76,500, so they're less when they don't combine the tribes. Were they great in power?
Yeah.
Yeah. Physically, they had as many people as they needed to conquer. Why didn't they?
Because it was too much work. That's how I read it.
I get tired of being obedient.
I'm tired of fighting.
There's trees there. We have to clear the trees.
You know, that was
That's the
true.
part where I saw the laziness right, there.
So he says, okay, I'll give you the
It's
hill
not
country.
wide
Go
enough.
and clear the land. Oh,
But
clear
that
the
requires
land.
cutting down trees.
That's
work.
Hard labor. We're not talking chainsaw go in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
When these guys in there, hewers of wood haven't come enough case.
But we have to remember they've been in a war for a long,
Yes,
long,
they
long
have.
time. But when it's time to rest.
So I don't want to condemn them too badly
Yes.
because I could have been me.
Yeah.
It could, like I said, I could have been Achan.
One of our later
Lost
cross
my leg.
references, Ephraim was completely equipped to deal with these men in chariot
Yes, he was.
without hand-to-hand combat.
No hand-to-hand combat. They were
They
archers.
were archers.
Yeah, didn't even have to get into, which
The battle.
I'm not a fan of Lord of the Rings because it's like, okay, is the battle over yet? It's like, my kids love it, but it's like, what a picture of thousands of arrows.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Now that's all CG. This would have been real. This would have been real arrows in the sky for real going to those chariots. Yeah. They're
just
sitting
taking them out
ducks.
before they ever got there, exactly.
Yeah, Judy.
And they were all working together before all the tribes.
Right.
So now it's just them. So maybe this mental thing for them was just more than they can think of.
Or it's
Maybe.
just been too much war. I mean, we're around
Been too
7
much
years
war.
here-ish, like they're tired. They're
Right.
like, we should have it by now. Like, this is my land. I just want to settle. I don't want to have to do any more work.
And then
Just
here's
give it
Joshua
to
and
me.
Caleb knowing this is what 40 years of wandering feels like. This is nothing. You weren't even a third into it. Yeah, but they're the only two guys that have that experience.
They were wimps.
Me too. At times, they're going.
Yeah, so we
They had the manpower, but they didn't have the heart that fully followed God. That's a sad statement.
Yeah.
Okay? That Israel allowed the Canaanites to live among them in the land of promise. In the land of promise, you're allowing the enemy to be here with you. Judges 3 says God left some of the nations of the Canaanites to test Israel, see if they'd obey him, right? They needed to be taught war,
The choice, you know.
but it's still war. It's still go in and conquer. These people are here. It takes time to conquer, but in each war, you learn something. In each battle, we learn something. We learn either God is faithful or he wasn't. No, he's always faithful. I wasn't. Let me try something else. Let me do it God's way. I bet it worked better. Let me just believe what God says, even though it makes no sense whatsoever. But I'm just going to believe what God says.
Well, sometimes we
do I
don't
see
hear
it?
God either.
And we don't, yeah. Except through his word and through prayer and the Holy Spirit inside. You had cross references, page 52 and 53. You had Deuteronomy, Psalms, Proverbs. What did you learn from them?
Deuteronomy, they were told, the Lord goes with you and will fight for you against your enemies.
Okay.
He will save you.
Right. This is Deuteronomy. This is before
Yeah.
the Jordan has been split. Think about timing. This is before the Jordan. This is, again, all the plagues. That would have been recounted in Deuteronomy. That would have been the chariots and the horses that they would have seen, because that's Egypt, known for that. Okay? If he's going to be with them through that, add the Jordan splitting. Add manna. Add they're circumcised and the enemy does not come after them. Add hailstones.
Mighty
Add the
acts of God.
sun standing. Okay?
Just
These are chariots and horses. Right? Okay? Again, get personal. Get personal. And I always sit back and like, who would I have wanted to be this week? No, as a woman, I'd like to be opposite. I'd like that. That a guy goes in and fights and conquers a whole city because he wants to marry me. That works for me. I like that.
I'm in.
And then I get to ask my daddy for water, and he says, yes. No, I like that too. I want to be Caleb. He knows who he is. He knows his God. He is confident in his strength and his ability. And those giants are still the same size they were 40 years ago. They're still birthing them that big.
and they don't worry you.
Don't worry him one bit. And he describes himself the way God described him. And he knew God described him like that. What confidence is that? That'd be a cool person to be. I don't want to be Joshua. They did not completely drive out the people. They did not
God told
completely
him
drive
he's
out the
old.
people. Here's your land. This is your portion now. Go take it. They did not completely drive out the people.
Well, that'll aid you. All that disappointment.
I need more land.
Yeah.
We need more land. It's not enough. We're great people. You are. You're strong people. So go conquer the land. But you can also have no country.
As God commanded.
But we need more.
Yeah, go and get it.
Go get it. I don't want to be Joshua in this section. I don't want to be him at all. Plus, it starts out with, "You're old."
Yeah, I know.
I know that. And there's still more to do. I know that too. So somebody else is going to have to do it. But what if they don't obey you fully, like Caleb? Yeah.
That's up to
That's up to them. That's not Joshua's responsibility. Do I know Moses felt it? Joshua felt it. Caleb feels it with his own tribe, not doing it. But he's responsible for himself. He doesn't.
The chariots thing, I was like, okay, they fought all these battles, they keep beating all these people, but all of a sudden they're like, oh no, there's chariots. And that's hard for me to see because I'm going, well, first of all, chariots to us is nothing, right? Like, we're like, there's a whole lot worse weapons out there people can have.
Not at that
But then
point.
to me, I saw it almost as something new. It's different. Like, we fought all these people that have swords, we fought people with archery, but now there's, so it's kind of like in my life. Like, God's helped me with this and God's helped me with that, but this is a new territory. And He hasn't helped me in this little thing before. But although He's done all this other stuff, but this is different.
Right.
That's how I kind of get in my life. Like, when it's something new that I haven't hit yet.
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
That is but and again, he was faithful in this. He fought for you here. And I still would go back to the hailstones. I'm like, yeah, one hailstone. It's like, yeah, that's smash it like a bug.
Oh, but it's iron.
Maybe God will do that again.
The chariot will survive the hailstones because it's iron.
Yeah, but the person will be dead.
They hide under
Probably
the
the
chariot.
horse.
Hide under the chariot. Hide under the chariot.
Again, you want to go
Yeah.
back. Why did she have you list a couple weeks ago? Victory, 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 victory in my life through God. Why would you go back to that? They need to go back. He said this is how God fought. Did you ever think he'd fight for you like that? Well, no. Holding the sun up for longer than it's ever been up before. And yeah, no, that wasn't really in my head as a method. Well, what about hailstones coming from? Well, no, I really didn't think about that either. And more people died from the hailstones than they did by you killing them. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's like, what about the Jordan? How did he get you even on the land? Well, yeah, he did that. But these horses and chariots, they're just too much.
I had a friend that had a bookmark in her Bible that she wrote down everything she was thankful for in her life. And it was a reminder every time she opened her Bible. Because sometimes we get so focused on
We
our
do.
current situations and the things going on now that we forget
'Cause we're so
everything we
present.
have and everything that God's given us.
We're so present. We live in the present. This is hard. Tomorrow will be better. I hope so. But tomorrow is so far away. You know, it's like, yeah, well, right.
I'm counseling an 80-year-old lady who lost her husband, and she has 2 automobiles that have been in the shop since January. And
What?
she has been so afraid to go there, and because she doesn't know what to say, so she's had this fear of what if.
Yeah.
So I said, well, let me find out. She goes, we'll find out, how I can sell them. So I got on the phone because I'm thinking, this is a way the Lord could answer. So I make this list, probably about 2.5 pages full of all these places. So I go over there to her house, and the Lord says, just drive down there and let's see if the automobiles are there and see what they say. We drove down there. Because, this is the way I have pictured
Right.
God to answer. And the guy says, he's a believer, has not charged her, because he knows she's a widow, has not charged her for storage. But he said, would you like for me to sell them for you?
Wow.
So it's like, we had all this on how it was going to be. I said,
Boring,
let's
yeah.
just go, find out, say, what's the status of my cars, be quiet, and let's see what he has to say.
That's it.
So it's like, it was incredible.
It's usually so
I
much
just
worse
started-
how you just conjure up in your head this and this and this. I'm like, oh man, that's what fear does.
Yeah.
It just takes over.
It does. And he spoke the word in her and said, you've been living in this fear for months.
Wow.
And she just went,
You're right, I
"Oh, I have." Not knowing that he was going to do this for
Right.
her, but waiting for her to come to him.
And not even contact him.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I know Rikers charges $35 a day.
Mhm.
A day for storage.
Wow.
A day. I'm genuine.
Our God fights for us. Just move
In ways
ahead.
we don't think.
Right.
That, to me, is the coolest thing to look forward to.
Yes.
Because you're like, Lord, I don't know how you're going to work this out, but it's your problem, so
Okay.
hope you work that out really well.
One more thing. We walk in the door, and here's this couple that go to our church. They were there to get their car fixed. It was Dan and Jackie Atkinson. And I just thought, oh my goodness, God is up to something. Because if they're here, whew, it just relaxed me.
Well, Dan also told you that they take their cars to him, have been taking their cars to him for
So this was a reputable place.
years.
Yes. But we didn't know it.
No, and she didn't know.
She didn't know it.
Her son is the one that made the original arrangement, taking cars there. And his son, who lives out of state, decided he didn't want one of the cars. I don't know. It's kind of worked out of that.
It happens all the time.
She just was afraid to
Happens
follow
all the
him.
time. See, so maybe fear also made them not follow through and fight and just obey God and just see how
He
gonna-
has it worked out.
He's going to work it out, even though they have chariots of iron. I'm just going
Mhm.
to fight because that's what he said to do, and he said to take him fully, and that he's going to fight for me. So So if somebody says, how's he going to fight you? I don't know that, but I do know that he will.
That's right.
So I'll get back with you on that when I find that answer out.
Right.
Because he's going to have to tell me the answer. Okay? Boasting in his name makes one stronger than those who boast in. Well, can you see his name? I see him in things, but I don't see his. I see chariots of iron and horses. That's what I see. But remember, this is the spiritual walk. This is the Christian walk is more about what you don't see than what you do see. Proverbs, Psalms, all of those.
Wonders.
I love that one. The horse is for battle, but the victory of the battle belongs to the Lord. But the horse is prepared. The horse is prepared to get on and go and fight. What's the outcome? I don't know. I'm just being obedient, and I'm getting on the horse, and I'm going. I'm going to go fight. Will I win? Yeah. I just don't know how.
Well, we have to do something too. Guys will fight our battles, but we
Thank
have
you.
to prepare the horse.
That's right. That's right. Then here's the men of Ephraim were archers that we were talking about that. They turned their back in battle and forgot God. Now, if you're an archer in the army, you've got a huge job. That's like calling in air support. It's like the pilot's going, we're not coming today. What do you mean we're not going to have an air support? That's the only way we can get out of that. Yeah, we're not coming today. They turned their back and they forgot God. I don't want that ever to be written about me. Remember his wonders and his judgments. Again, keep adding to your list.
Absolutely.
Keep adding to that list of victories. Because his wonders and judgments are so much more than we could ever figure out or even come up with. Let alone, again, when he kicks hailstones and he makes the sun stand up longer than it should sit. I don't think of that kind of fighting. That's not the fighting I think of, but that was totally God's plan. That's what I need to think about. I don't know how, I can't see how, but he will. And then it'll be really neat when you get on the other side and go, that's how we did that. Okay? And you got to be a part of it because you fully followed the Lord your God. Okay? Tell me some of y'all's applications that you came up with.
I got through all this obedience.
Yes. How could you not, right? How could you not come out of this and go,
It just-
if I don't sit here that I'm supposed to be obedient,
To me, it should be the theme rather than courageous.
then make it your theme.
I am.
Because that is what Joshua is about to me. You fully follow the Lord as God. Don't depart from it, from the right or to the left.
Exactly.
Yes.
Be courageous, strong.
Be strong and courageous. And that requires being obedient.
Yeah, yesterday when Joni and I and Nancy Rittenhouse, we were at the Silver Shekel down in Windermere.
Yes.
They redid their shop for the holidays
Yes.
and everything.
Mhm.
Everything we look, they're strong, be strong and courageous.
Really?
Be strong and courageous. On the cup, be strong and courageous, everything. And it's like Joshua was
All over the store.
It was really cool.
But what a great theme to live your life,
I know.
Because each one of us has something every day that we need to be strong and courageous
Amen.
about. And it may get better tomorrow, it may not. It may never. It may never, but you're not alone. You don't walk alone. He's with you. You're not. That's one of the sad things when you read about that. It's like they forgot that. They forgot that God was right there with them.
We forget
And but I do that. I do that too. I think, how am I going to fix this? I'm like, no.
And all through Paul's teachings, love one another.
Yes.
We're all going to make mistakes.
Right. Yeah. And just love each other through it. Agreed.
Amen.
Agreed.
As I was reading, and I think it came about almost through more of the cross references than.
I agree.
but
Sometimes I found more.
Fighting the battles, God will fight my battles
Mhm.
if they're His.
If I let them be His.
No, if they're His. A lot of times I get myself into battles that have nothing to do with God. He's not going to fight this for me because I wasn't supposed to be there, but He will help me recover from them.
Yeah.
Amen.
So true.
That's true.
So true. Because there comes forgiveness.
He was going back to how Israel just keeps over and over screwing up. Even before this in the desert,
Yes.
and God's still fighting for them, and God's still giving them the land, and just God's grace through it, how much He loves His people.
Yeah, it did not negate their inheritance. It prolonged it, but they still got it. Yeah, because
He
it was
was
promised.
tempted to them.
But again, and Moses stopped him from doing
Exactly.
that because he's in covenant. He can't do that.
Your name, yeah.
Yep. I mean, even he would have been keeping covenant even if he'd done that, because he'd have started all over with Moses.
But even he sometimes.
But he's like, well, what others think of you.
Yeah.
I wish
Yes.
in our marriage ceremonies that we have, that covenant would be stressed.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't even hear it, really.
Mm,
We did
right.
in ours. We did in ours.
Mhm.
We did a big
Oh, I
percent.
think it should, we didn't in ours, but I think that it should be, because
We
maybe
did.
there'd be fewer divorces if they
Yeah.
took that seriously.
For me, it's
Right.
more the people that witness the covenant. You have a huge part. You are a witness of what they are promising to do before God and these witnesses. So when you decide, oh, I just don't think I'm in love with you anymore, which witness shall I get to sit down and go, did you say, did you say, did you say? You did. Now we're holding you accountable for what you said, so what is it that you need to fulfill your covenant? That's what we're here for. We're here to hold you accountable, but also to help you.
We had our friend the pastor do ours, and he did a whole thing explaining the covenant and the salvation message of what
I love that.
That is so.
I knew there were a lot of people that come to our wedding that would never step foot in church. So
See?
we
So
did
you
a
had a whole
covenant
deal right
salvation
there.
with the marriage.
I love
I
that.
got married in Finland and there was no covenant mentioned.
Well, you didn't even know about covenant then.
No, we did not.
All right, I'm going to give you guys.
One thing to add, Kenizzites being from Canaan.
Yes.
Yes.
The promise or the covenant made with Abraham is between God and Abraham.
Yes.
They're
I did see
mentioned-
this.
Yes, they're mentioned as part of the land of Canaan, the Kenizzites.
But
So
there's some things that say they moved after that was in there. There were some things about where they went from there.
But their origin.
Their origin is
Their
Canaan.
origin
Yes,
is
yes.
Canaan.
But then
But we
again,
don't know if they lived
when
there at the
Canaan
time.
is, when the land is described later on, they are not mentioned
Yeah.
in Exodus and they are not mentioned.
So they don't live there currently.
Yeah.
Because I went to that too. Because I was like, wait, Caleb was fighting his own people, but he wasn't because they weren't in
They had-
Canaanites. They
yeah,
weren't
They
in
have
there
that
now.
homeland.
They had left.
He was,
So we don't know where they were.
They had
his
left that.
dad
the
left.
tribe was in Canaan at the time Moses made the covenant.
Yeah, that's what I just.
That's what I,
And that makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense. And again, they do call him from
And no matter their
Unite,
location,
his father.
they still exist.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's
As Canaanites.
There was one Jewish
Am I
blog
existing?
thing, a Jewish rabbi had a blog and was explaining, and I don't agree with his explanation. All he was trying to justify the Caleb being not Jewish, because in the Jewish world, like that's a huge thing that his dad was not
Yeah.
Jewish, right? Because it's a huge hero for them. And he was justifying it and going through this whole thing, the meaning of the Kenizzite word or whatever, and that it really means the hunter. And his dad was a hunter. It doesn't mean he was from that group of people, and he wasn't.
So many
Gentile.
possibilities.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of stuff he said there. Well, you're stretching. It was interesting though to see how important it was to a Jewish rabbi to prove that Caleb was not a Gentile.
But Caleb had to have
Like-
been circumcised.
Well, the way he was,
He would have been part of those circumcised when they
He
came
had
into
to
the
really
Jordan.
stretch it to get there, but it
Right.
was interesting seeing the importance to a Jewish person
Huge.
on why Caleb has to be Jewish. He can't be a Gentile.
Right.
Like it was
Yeah.
really
Right?
interesting.
Well, that's huge. That's that again, Jewish
And
book.
this was found in Genesis 17:8.
Thank you. That's where you found. Okay, thank you. All right. Hey, I'm like early. I have 4 minutes. I'm so impressed.
Yeah, I saw all kinds of
Genesis
interesting stuff on
15
that.
also.
That's what I have, Genesis 15.
I found lots of interesting theories on that.
Well, it was. Some